Welcome to this video on the economic structure of ancient pharaohs, exploring wealth, agriculture, and trade in the fertile Nile Valley. The ancient Egyptian economy was centrally planned, directed by the pharaoh, and a vast bureaucracy. It was fundamentally agricultural, based on surplus grain, and redistributive, as taxes were collected in kind and distributed to the population. The Nile River was the engine of wealth, famously called the gift of the Nile. Its predictable annual flooding deposited nutrient-rich silt, supporting massive agricultural surpluses vital for the entire civilization. Season 1, Aket, was the inundation period from June to September. Farming was impossible, so the workforce was redirected to corvée labor, working on state projects like pyramids as a form of tax payment. Season 2, Peret, or the growth season, ran from October to February. As the waters receded, farmers sowed seeds in the fresh mud. Extensive irrigation networks, managed centrally, were crucial for crop growth. Season 3, Shimu, was the harvest season from March to May. This was the busiest time, with crops harvested and assessed immediately by scribes for taxation. A good harvest meant wealth for the state. The staple crops were emmer wheat, the primary carbohydrate for bread, and barley, fermented to make beer. Beer was not only a drink, but a significant source of nutrition and a standard wage for laborers. Industrial crops included flax, used to produce linen for universal clothing, and papyrus, harvested for writing material, which was a major state monopoly in export. The pharaoh theoretically owned all land. In practice, land was managed through royal estates, temple estates that became economic hubs, and revocable private grants to nobles and officials. The vizier was the chief economist, second only to the pharaoh. Their duties included overseeing the treasury and granaries, managing tax collection, and coordinating major building projects. Scribes were the bureaucratic backbone of the complex economy. As the literate class, they recorded harvest yields, calculated taxes, and managed inventory, making scribal work a path for upward mobility. Without fiat currency, taxes were paid in kind, primarily based on production. These included agricultural taxes on harvest, the corvée labor obligation, and wealth taxes determined by the biannual cattle census. Grain was the strategic reserve, stored in massive state granaries. These reserves paid state employees, fed the population during famine, and facilitated international trade for crucial resources like timber. The deben was the sophisticated standard of value, a weight of copper, silver, or gold. Goods were priced in deben to facilitate fair barter, even without circulating coins. Local marketplaces existed for surplus and luxury items. Since the state provided staples, market exchanges relied on barter, with the deben value system guiding exchange rates. Corvée labor was mandatory national service for farmers during the flood season. They were fed quality state rations while working on monumental projects, which was essential for infrastructure. Skilled artisans, such as stonecutters and carpenters, were state employees paid monthly in rations. Their importance meant they sometimes held enough leverage to go on strike if rations were delayed. Temples were powerful economic corporations, not just religious sites. They owned vast land, herds, and resources, employing thousands and acting as a quote-quote state within a state. High-ranking religious positions, like the god's wife of Amun, commanded immense wealth. The Temple of Amun, at its peak, owned massive livestock and properties, acting as a major reserve bank. Massive building projects like the pyramids functioned as economic stimulus, redistributing surplus grain from the elite to workers, thereby generating demand throughout the economy. Egypt was famous for its gold, mined extensively in the eastern desert and Nubia. Gold was a state monopoly and the primary tool used for foreign diplomacy and international trade. Quarrying provided necessary building materials. Limestone was quarried locally, while granite was transported hundreds of miles from Aswan, and sandstone was used extensively for later temples. The Nile served as Egypt's highly efficient domestic trade highway. The prevailing north wind and the river current enabled cheap transportation of goods, integrating the economies of Upper and Lower Egypt. Nubia was Egypt's most critical southern trade partner, providing essential imports like gold, ebony, and ivory. In return, Egypt exported grain and finished goods, with fortresses guarding these trade routes. Trade with the Levant brought in essential cedar wood, as Egypt lacked good timber. They also imported olive oil and silver, exchanging them for Egyptian gold, papyrus, and linen. Expeditions to the legendary land of Punt brought back valuable commodities like myrrh trees and spices. These state-sponsored feats required immense logistical effort to cross the desert to the Red Sea. Egyptian artisans were highly skilled in luxury craftsmanship, including faience, glassmaking, and metallurgy. Workshops produced high-value goods for the elite and for export, adding value to raw materials. The economic power structure resembled a pyramid. At the top was the pharaoh, supported by scribes and priests, followed by artisans and merchants, with the vast majority being the peasant farmers. The centralized redistribution system eventually faltered, leading to the late Bronze Age decline. This collapse was marked by inflation, economic desperation leading to tomb robbery, and civil war as high priests amassed excessive wealth. We hope this video has helped you explore the complex economic legacy of the pharaohs. Here are the image sources used in the first part of this video. Here are the image sources used in the second part of this video. Here are the image sources used in the final part of this video.